Hi everyone, this is Ethan Dre with Be Creative Studios Video Tutorials, and today we're just going to be reviewing the basic interface and navigation of After Effects. So as you can see, once you open up After Effects, you have this welcome window. You're able to open your recent projects here. You can open projects that don't appear in your recent projects. You can start new compositions. And just to the right, you have a tip of the day. This is really helpful for new users that aren't used to After Effects or just want to learn more about After Effects. If you do not want this window to appear when you open After Effects, just uncheck Show Welcome and Tip of the Day at Startup. Alright, but for right now we're going to open up one of my recent projects here, and it has a .aep extension. That just means it's an After Effects project file. Alright, so once you open After Effects up, you're going to have a 5-window setup here, and each window kind of consists of several different panels. And notice whenever I select a window, it's outlined in yellow as well. Alright, so here we have our menu bar at the very top of our application. For right now, we're going to go to Window, Workspace, and I want to make sure that my workspace is set to standard, and I'm also going to reset that workspace to standard just to make sure everything's alright. So like any other Adobe application, you have this drop down file here where you can create new projects, save projects, close projects, or import files into this application. And below our menu bar, we have our toolbar here. Similar to Photoshop as well, we have our brush tool, eraser tool, and then we have other tools such as our puppet pin tool, pan tool, camera tool, and typically in After Effects you're going to be using the selection tool most often, just moving things around. And remember, that is keyboard shortcut V. And below our toolbar we have our project window. So our project window contains all of the files we'll be using, all of the source files we'll be using for our compositions. This could be anything from video to audio to Photoshop documents, etc. And we also have compositions. Now compositions are essentially layers or your source files made up into one document or composition. We also have folders in our project window. This is to help us keep organized. Right now I just have a bunch of different layers from a Photoshop document within these folders, and that keeps your workflow a little less cluttered. Now below our project window we have our layer panel and our timeline. Okay, so our layer panel shows what layers are making up each composition. Now, similar to Photoshop again, the layer that is on top is going to be the layer that's visible or closest to the foreground. You can also hide these layers similar to Photoshop as well. To the right of our layer window, we have our timeline. Now the timeline is essentially a time-based view of your composition. Alright, it shows you the length of your compositions or your layers, and it also holds all of the keyframe data. It's also displayed in seconds at the top of the timeline, and if you wanted a closer look at your frames or keyframes, you can always zoom in and go frame by frame with your timeline. Now notice within our timeline we have the timeline indicator or the timeline scrubber. Okay, this is going to allow you to drag to different locations in time on your timeline, and it's going to show you what's going to appear on that keyframe or frame. Okay, so if I just click here, we're currently on the 28th frame after 2 seconds, and this is what that frame is going to look like. Okay, so the timeline scrubber is essentially a way to preview or just jump around in time in your composition to see what appears on that frame. Above the timeline we have our composition window, which is essentially a visual preview of what's going to happen as your composition plays. To the right of our composition window, we have our information about RGB, so whatever we scroll the cursor over top of is going to change those values. We also have our audio information. We have our preview panel, which is going to allow us to preview our composition. And we also have our effects and presets panel. And that pretty much sums it up as far as the interface goes for After Effects. I hope this tutorial was helpful. Remember, this is Ethan Dre with Be Creative Studio Video Tutorials. Thank you for watching, and please check back for our latest.